Thanks for clicking on the video, and here today at Nerd Mimic, we are going to go over a pair of very cool game books. This is known as the Hark series, and it's authored by R.L. Stine. So this name might be familiar to you guys. He is author of Goosebumps and multiple other children's stories. He is quite prolific, and he actually has written multiple other game books, but this pair is his own series that he authored, and there's only 2 in the series. It's unfortunate because I actually think these are quite good. When this first came out as a kid, I actually picked it up. Part of the reason is it looked quite thin. You can see here, it looks like a very small book, and I didn't think it would have much adventure in it. This is compared to, say, something like Fighting Fantasy here. You can see it looks much thicker, and this actually has about 400 sections typically, and these only have about 250. All right. Also compared to, say, an Endless Quest book, which also looks thicker. So you can see this Hark series book is the thinnest of the bunch. Now that being said, I heard great things about this series and had an opportunity to pick it up, and so I did so. And I'm glad I did. I found these to be actually quite good. I think they're definitely better than your average Endless Quest or Fighting Fantasy book. There is no dice rolling in this game. It's more of your own choose your own adventure. There is a mechanic of points where you go through a certain section, you get some points for achieving that, and but really the points are sort of meaningless. The correct path does not actually lead you to the most points score. I think the points there are just, for fun, like a high score. There are several cool things about this series. The first thing is it does have only a single solution to the adventure. Now, yes, most of these other stories do have a singular solution. However, there are multiple ways to it, or they might have alternate endings that still accomplished a goal. But that's not the case here. There's actually only one singular solution. And because of that, there are multiple deaths you will encounter. So it makes it quite hard, but really engaging with his snappy prose. So I'm going to go over both of these books in a second, but before I do so, I want to give you a spoiler warning. I will give you indications on how to pick the right path and give you some examples of the prose and humor within this book series. Now, the first thing I want to say is how many endings there are in this book series. As I mentioned, there's only a singular solution, and each book has 250 sections. This book here has 79 endings. That means 78 of them are actually complete failures and instant death. So that's nearly 80 passages of death compared to 250 passages. That means a third of the time, or a third of the passages in this book are actually instant death. So that gives you an indication on how difficult this book is. Now, this book's a little bit easier, as this has 59 endings, so 58 of them are bad endings. So a little bit more easier, but still a lot of fun to be had. So the way I think about these pair of books, the tree plots are very diverse and very branching. They go off in so many different directions. You're not sure which way is the correct pathway, and some of them actually do loop back to the beginning or back to a certain section of the book. But for the most part, it really branches and branches and branches. A lot of these other books, they might branch a little bit, go back the same path, branch a little bit, go back. So it comes out to more like a tall tree. But I think these are quite diverse, almost like a willow tree that just branches and branches by far. Definitely not like a tiny little shrub. When I read these 2 recently, it took me several nights to actually complete each one. And there is a lot of adventure to be had. Even if you go off on the wrong path, as they said, it just branches and branches, and you feel like you're getting full adventure, but of course you do not, unfortunately, complete your goal. So once again, there's a singular plot line that involves the correct solution, And this plotline doesn't necessarily mean that you pick the best choices. Some of them actually might be incorrect choices, but they lend to have some benefit later. So let me give you an example here. In this one, you start off in a Badlands, a desert region. Your ship crashes, and it's set in the future. And you can see you have these Pulp Fiction type illustrations with lasers here and a rocket pack. And here in this novel, you're trying to rescue a princess. But let's go back to this one where you're stuck in the desert. And one of the first choices you end up having here, right at the get-go, is you could head east, or you could head west, or you could wait around to see if anything happens. Well, if wait around, you could turn to page 19 here. Your travel guide should have told you that the 3 sons of Hark are much too strong to stand in one place for more than a minute. You have been roasted where you stand. You're still a little pink in the middle, but do not be concerned. You will make a tasty hot lunch for a hungry Zamp. Game over. So it gives you a little sense of the humor within this book and how quick the death can be. So going back to the beginning here, if you had a choice between going to east or west, well, the correct choice here would actually be the east. And you go to page 9 here. And you're going to come across something shiny on the ground. And what you do is you have an option of either picking it up, or you leave it on the ground, or walk away from the path, as that might be a dangerous item. So maybe the safer thing to do is actually leave it on the ground, but actually you got to pick it up. And so that would be page 17. And that would be this paragraph here. And when you pick it up, to your amazement, it grabs back. And you have picked up a Harkonian glamp, one of the fiercest animals in the Badlands. Pain races through your body as the creature attaches itself to your arm, digging its suction claws deep into your skin. The glamp will suck your veins dry unless you destroy it first. So this sounds like a bad thing to happen. And so when I first encountered this paragraph, I thought, oh, this is probably the wrong way to go. And so when I went through other sections and made it a game over, I picked other pathways to go. But actually, you do want to have the thing bite you, because at the very end of the book, there is a treasure, which is your goal, to find the treasure in the Badlands, and it's guarded by this gigantic snake, and this snake will bite you. You actually win the game. And the reason why is because this glamp that bites you at the very, very beginning of this story, it poisons your blood, and that snake will be poisoned by that glamp venom that's in your system already and die. And that's actually how you win the game. Because of an incorrect choice in the beginning, that's how you solve this entire puzzle. It's very hard to come to that intuitively, but of course, as you explore different options, you will whittle it down and come to that choice. But it's really cool that even if you didn't get bitten by that glamp in the beginning, once again, there's a whole bunch of branching plot lines of exploration and fun to be had. But if you get bitten, once again, that is how you actually get to that solution. Going back to the humor in this book, the victory is actually on section 13, lucky number 13. See, when you get bitten by that snake, your head swims, you feel faint, you wait to die, but it's the serpent that dies. Its fangs drop away from your arm, and the hideous creature collapses to the floor. You cry out in shock. You do not believe what you see. After a few seconds, you realize that you feel fine. So it explains how that glamp bite filled you with a sermon that is deadly to serpents. For you, wanderer, the game is now over. You have discovered the one path through the Badlands of Hark and won its glowing treasure. May all of your future quests just be as successful. So once again, lucky number 13. So other paragraphs that indicate the humor in this game, there's a section where you can find a scroll on the ground, and there are multiple signs that you could read that sometimes give you right information or sometimes incorrect information. So here on section 247, there is a scroll that you can find in the game. You unroll the scroll and read the hand-lettered words on it. Look for the Badlands of Hark by R.L. Stine, available at better bookstores everywhere. It appears you have wasted your time in this pool of water. You get dressed and go back on the path. So to get this scroll, there is a section where there is a lake and you see a treasure chest in that lake, and you're wondering if that's the treasure that you're supposed to gain. You got to dive down, but you're starting to lose air. Do you dive down further or not? If you do dive down, well, you grab the trunk, but then you realize the trunk is heavy. Do you pull it up or open up underneath the water? If you open up into the water, the paper scroll will sort of disintegrate in the water. If you bring the trunk back up and open up the scroll, well, that's the scroll you find. So that's another example of part of the adventure to be had and some of the silly humor here. There's another paragraph here, 236. The Smurka, unfortunately, just happens to be one of the fastest eating creatures ever hatched. By waiting a few seconds longer, you have provided it with another morsel to gobble up. The ironic part is the Smurka is actually allergic to humans, but it won't find this out for several hours. Game over. So here's another section where you met a untimely death. Full of silly humor here. I know it might not be to everyone's liking, but I think it was just a lot of fun to be had. This other novel here, once again, you are in charge of rescuing a princess that is kidnapped. This is more of a political soap opera kind of drama where you got two warring factions trying to invade Hark, and then the native princess of Hark has been kidnapped, but you don't know who, and you are hired to rescue her. So to reach the correct pathway in this novel, you have the option of investigating the old city or the spaceport, or flying low to investigate the area. If you fly low, you're going to get shot down, so that's not the right choice. So what you're going to do is actually head to the spaceport here first, and then you will be attacked, and you could continue to go to the spaceport or explore the region around there, or head back to the old city. So what you're going to do is actually go to the spaceport and head back to the old city. So that would be over here. Forget about the spaceport, and since it's been captured, head back to old city. Then you're going to turn to page 90, and that'll set you on the correct pathway to the correct solution. But once again, even if you pick the incorrect pathway, there are so many branching points that you will have a lot of fun either way. There are less sudden dead ends in this novel, so it lends to more exploration. So I think this is probably more engaging to read, but I thought this was, the Badlands was probably cooler to play. Either one, I think they're both above your average 1980s game book. And certainly, if you ever see one in the used bookstore, take an opportunity to pick it up. These are pretty inexpensive, as they're not as popular as these old books. And so these could be found for 10 or 20 bucks each. So thank you for watching, everyone. Hopefully you learned something new. Let me know in the comments down below if you ever played any of these before. I'm certainly glad I have it in my collection now, and I will let you know about other game books in the future, as we have had already on the channel. And if you like what you saw, hopefully you could share and subscribe and help us out. Thank you for watching, everyone. Have a great day. Keep on adventuring out there.